Welcome to the Leadership Heart Podcast with Sandra J. Horton, the Growth Catalyst. Well, hello, everyone. The Leadership Heart Podcast is back. I'm Sandra Horton, and I'm known as the Success Change Catalyst. I'm just so delighted to come live today to my audience out there that I would begin and really bring the Leadership Heart Podcast back. So I'm Sandra Horton, and I'm known as the Success Change Catalyst. And welcome, everyone, coming live. I have been in leadership for over 25 plus years and really creating pathways of change for leaders and organizations around the globe. And I'm just so delighted to bring up our beautiful guest as she's able to come with the technology is our lovely way of being. I hope you can coming in live, Parisa. Hello, you're on mute. Welcome, my friend.
Hello. Yes.
Oh, so delighted. Thank you. I'm glad technology cleared up. Things are well.
Technology and kids and mommy, and hi.
Hello, my friend.
Here we are.
We are just grounding our beautiful selves. So for those who are listening now live or on the replay, I'd love to introduce my beautiful guest today to the Leadership Heart Podcast. So I'm just going to read a little bit about Parisa's bio and thank you for allowing me this opportunity because you have an incredible story and journey. So Parisa is the heart, and this is why it's so beautifully aligned. Leadership Heart Podcast and Parisa Rose is the heart of communities, online and in person. She's living a life of expansiveness. She's a best-selling author, speaker, human rights activist, a national champion, 8-time All-American swimmer, a community leader, and a mother of 2, which is so important. And this is accomplished with a multi-hyphenated Iranian-American who is truly a force of goodness, integrity, and inspiration to the world. She has been honored by the Los Angeles Tribune with an Empowerment and Resiliency Legacy Award for her exceptional advocacy for women's mental health and emotional health. Parisa excels in building vibrant communities, fostering authentic connections, and we're going to dive into authenticity in a little bit, and nurturing creativity within the creator economy, making significant contributions to the field through her leadership. And I love this word, innovative strategy. So welcome, everyone. Thank you. Please say hi wherever you're coming in live from. Parisa, the life that we all lead as women leaders is this wonderful story of balance and juggling and becoming our best versions of ourselves. So why don't we dive in and let's learn a little bit about the essence of how did you discover that leadership journey? What was helpful for you to really find that inner essence of yourself to stand into your leadership power?
You know, it's a great question, and it's a great way to dive into a very vast conversation, I feel.
Yeah.
Living a life of leadership found me or identified me versus me identifying it for myself.
One sentence in is just like, hey, wait a second. That's really powerful and really important. So I just want to make sure that those who are listening live catch that point. That's critical.
It's pretty simple, but it's also a life of what I feel myself, but I feel a lot of people I've discovered live in resistance of. And that is, when I say that leadership identified me, it's that I didn't ever fit into a box as a kid. Coming from the family that I come from, being multi-ethnic background, having just so many different pieces and parts to my story be quite unique. And although as a child, I didn't understand that they were unique, I thought they were just weird. I thought they were different. I thought that they were inferior. I wouldn't have placed the word inferior on it, but that's what it was. And that's what I felt. And I didn't feel that anything ever really clicked for me in any sense of matching or meeting or being able to blend in. I resisted it. I didn't embrace it a lot, most of my life. I'd say up until like my teenage years. But as a child, I was very quiet. I was called shy. I was called shy more than anything I can ever recall. Oh, she's polite, she's nice, but she's shy. And if there's one thing that anyone's hearing me, never call a child shy ever again. If we can like eliminate that word from the language, like please, let's do it. I felt very shy because people kept telling me I was shy. I just didn't talk a lot. It's because I was observing a lot. I listened a lot. I paid attention a lot. I was vigilant to my surroundings. Like I didn't fit in any certain way. I just kind of blended in, kind of didn't really find myself to really stick out a whole lot, but also not blend into or be able to check into any certain box in school. Eventually, I learned that that was kind of my asset because I found swimming. And I only found swimming because my best friend was on a swim team and we did everything together as best friends would do. A year into the sport, I found my love for it. And go figure, I found a sport that you put your face in the water, you're not talking to anyone because you physically cannot. So I found a sport where I didn't have to talk. So I was only going to perpetuate this shy kind of mentality or label. However, that again has been it's been the greatest thing ever for me because I think great leaders are incredible listeners and they're phenomenal observers. And they don't always need to have the first or the last word.
Agree.
That's how I found, I'd say, how I found myself to be in more of like a leadership kind of role in life is that first of all, I did not identify it. It identified me. That identified me through never feeling like I ever fit in. And I realized never fitting in, I actually don't need to fit in because I get to just be me, myself, and I, all three of us. Keep all
I love that.
But we, like me, myself, and I, all parts of me, we are good enough. I am good enough just as I am. I don't need to be anyone else. I don't need to fit into another box. I don't need to identify as this or that. I can look just like me.
And that's pretty powerful, Parisa. I just want to jump in because I resonate with that. And I'm hoping that as people are listening to this, that they'll put some comments as well in on Facebook, YouTube, or on LinkedIn, because I resonate. This really resonates. And I think it resonates for many, many people that if you're unique, and we're all unique, we have these beautiful gifts, we have these different ways of showing up. I definitely didn't feel that I fit in either. And I really do believe, and I understand now, having gone and done the good inner work, that a lot of the reasons I didn't fit in is because not only was I bullied, but I also had a learning disability. And so even though what I did is I coped externally, I actually became a jock. I quad majored in so many sports because guess what? That was my strength. That was my way to compete with people who were pushing me down, belittling me, making me feel less than a person because I didn't fit in. So you and I have this real common understanding, and I'm sure this will resonate for many people as well, that we get put into labels, or labels get attached to us. We ourselves can label ourselves, and that becomes our identity. And so in learning this, how did you break free from, in your own words, the shyness? And again, I'm mindful of the shyness because that's just an introversion. It's how we show up as individuals. So what changed? What shifted? What kind of came from that growth, your growth in your own personal journey?
Yeah, I'd say it looked different, and it's looked different over the years. I'd say over the decades now. I'd say initially more, so take it back a few decades to high school. I was nominated as team captain. Each high school program is going to look different. Some captains are going to have more of a bigger role than others. But just knowing that I was elected team captain, and that what I said, how I thought about things, how I prepared for certain competitions, and how I viewed the other team, how I treated the other team, things like that, that those things were of value. I didn't really know how to value myself necessarily then, but for me, it was a very significant, but it was a very specific part of my life that I could accept that, okay, this thing that I do, it's more mature than others because that's what I'm told at the time.
Interesting. People were telling you, and so reaffirming, but yet at that age, did you really fully integrate it, or was it just more of a reaction to what you were being told? That's the interesting piece that
And this is the thing that makes, I think, a lot of parents, I'm one of them, cringe. I was raised to be a great rule follower. Because I was a great rule follower, and because I was polite and I was kind, That makes a great initial leader. Does it make a great leader overall? I think only time will tell, and the character of the person and the desire and the pursuit and the passion. Yes.
Yeah.
But initially, I think being a good rule follower, because so many people are in their own heads. They're straying here. They're going all these different directions. And when you have someone that's willing to follow the rules and someone that just follows the rules naturally, it's also my personality type to just see a system, see the system that works well and follow the system. And if the system doesn't work well, to question it, look at it, inquire, remain
Yeah.
curious, but not to be, rebel without a cause, but to be
I love that.
definitely not. But honestly,
Yeah.
it was being a good rule follower. But I say that's a great leader now? No.
Yeah, and we're gonna dive into that, and
Mhm.
and I really, especially in this new normal phenomenon, like as we've come post pandemic, really like being that rule follower and just yeah, that's the old way of being. But yet, there's so many people that are still, as I'm observing, and people that I'm coaching, and people that I'm interacting with, perhaps for them, they're still in that old way of being and going backwards versus going forward. So, what would be maybe some of your advice to those who may be aspiring leaders, those who are in a leadership role? What would be maybe one, two, three little pieces of nuggets of advice that to our conversation today?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be audacious with this one because why not? We're
Why
here, right?
not? I love it.
Ask yourself why. Why are you
Mhm.
doing what you do? Why are you going after what you're going after? Why are you wanting to build the business you're building? Why are you wanting said outcome or said revenue? Why? Whatever that answer is, then ask why to that answer. Then get that answer, ask why again. Ask why 5 times. Because if it's not on solid ground, and if it doesn't come from a place that is actually within you, you will be relying on motivation and it won't work because motivation is a fallacy. It's nonsense, in my opinion. It's
Mm,
it's a it's a fun buzzword that people throw out there, but it's
yeah.
not sustainable. It's a flame that will burn out fast, and it's more of like a hype kind of feeling. It's not going to last. So I'd
Mhm.
say ask yourself why, and get that answer, and do it 5 more times, and make sure what you're doing is what you actually want to do. It's going to be gritty along the way anyway, but make sure what you want the outcome to be, you actually want to do that. And allow it to be what you wanted to do, not what
Mm,
others are expecting you to do, like your family,
yes.
your parents, or, you know.
Jump in on that because that's a key moment. And I love to share as we're kind of connecting
Mhm.
here today on the Leadership Heart podcast is what resonates for you. Where do you first start to feel that? And for me, it's really about acknowledging, who am I? I always go back to, like, in our Activate Success book, it's about the 4 essential questions because this is self-discovery. Who am I? The why questions are the power. That's the power to go within. Who am I? What is the biology of me? What's the psychology of me? What's the social, the spiritual, the aspects of me? And someone who really suppressed their childhood trauma stories, being a sexual assault survivor, I learned how to cope in different ways, to suppress things, to not allow things to come and bubble up. And for many people, whether it's repression or coping differently or shutting down, being in denial, these are all important things. You need to know your story, right, Parisa? You got to go inside you and not accept that past way of being labeled, identifying all those things. The importance of culture, the cultural quagmire, if I can, especially if you're, kind of trying to figure out that piece of you.
You touched on something that I want to make sure that is really clear. When people see high achievers, they think often, and I say this, I think, because of conversations I've had, that it comes from this bigger than yourself desire to impact and change and like be the good person. A lot of the time, high achievers are seeking from trauma, and they're seeking, just like you said, like they're seeking because they're trying to have their goals supersede what they've gone through. That's been a large part of my story.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you that I was sexually assaulted in my freshman year of college. I was a swimmer. I quit swimming. I left my school. Like I made drastic changes after that. And even though I made drastic changes after that to really switch up my environment, I decided, okay, this was my way to resolve or cope or be bigger than the thing, is that I decided if I had a goal list so large and so audacious, and I got those goals, then I could prove to myself that that thing did not beat me. I beat it.
Whew.
I got a full ride scholarship all over again after taking 2 years off of the sport. I had a national title. I made X amount of dollars per year. I got all the things. I was doing well. I was successful, but it was purely from the ambition of let these things be the bigger than. And guess what? That's great. Did I succeed all those things? Yes, I did. Awesome. Pat on the back. Cool. I can work hard even though I'm tortured inside. Great. That's what that shows me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can so relate to this story. Like, we've lived that same story. And I think so many individuals out there, and particularly women, have this inner kind of schism between really what's happening for them and knowing their story, but they're living someone else's story. Yep. Because you're so vulnerable, you're so reactionary. We function from the back, our reaction versus our front, which is our more of a response. And it's interesting because the stories we tell ourselves, we don't stop. We're in here, not here, in the heart. And I found when I had that moment of like releasing my story, I knew when it happened, where it happened at 10 years old. It's like I knew who perpetrated it. Everything came up and out. And it was a moment of, I felt release. I felt I understood. But the interesting piece though, Parisa, for me, still, even now, even today, I was going through this beautiful session with one of my dear friends, and she's just a great coach. You know, we all have to have our connections with different people. And something deep, deep, deep inside me came out again. Just a small little remnant. As we heal, we unpack, release, let go. We're always growing and being open to this. And in doing that, I was a bit shocked, to be honest with you, that I had to go back in and still do some more healing for that little girl in your self-discovery, because that's the first pillar of truly awakening to your leadership journey. It's self-discovery through change readiness and into sustainable impact. So in your awakening, I'm going to kind of turn it a little bit more onto your story again. In your awakening and standing tall, we talked a little bit about motivation isn't going to sustain you. How and what did you do in order to really support yourself to release those limiting beliefs, release maybe perhaps something that wasn't fully supporting you to go within? Because you said, I've heard you've achieved all these things, but there was perhaps maybe an inner restlessness or
still, I mean, being human.
Yeah. Right.
So I'd say there's like three main things that I can identify. I started working on way back then that are still very relevant to this moment. So one is to handle doubt. And the way I handle doubt is I ask myself 3 questions. Is it, am I, and says who? That's doubt. The second part is to let it be messy. Let it, whatever it is. What is messy? Messy subjective, but each person has their own messy. Letting myself piss people off.
I'm sorry. I love that.
That has been the best catalyst for myself. That is the thing that activates me the most. That's the thing that liberates me the most. And it's not me against anyone. I was raised to be a great rule follower, which means I'm also historically, a great people pleaser. And I have a heart to tend to others. And with those 3 things combined, I naturally veer into the other, whoever the other is. And sometimes the biggest things, and I'll say the biggest things that have really been a catalyst for me have been the moments where I've allowed myself to piss others off the greatest.
I love that, and I could take this so many beautiful ways when we talk about, because we confront that every single day, kind of turning a little bit into kind of the leadership and showing up in the work that we do. Because it's interesting, we both do a lot of project work, we do a lot of leading others, and facilitating is different than coaching. It's different than in the leading, different aspects of self and leading others. And I want to kind of dive back a little bit about kind of be that catalyst for change. What is your big, hairy, audacious vision and mission? Let's put that out there.
Ultimately, at the end of my life, I want something very simple to be able to be said about me, and that is that she made a difference. It's simple, it's vague, and I want that to be the very first thing that comes to people's minds. So that means that I get to really allow that to be what I live. And it looks a lot of different ways. But ultimately, I would love to be able to really have the greatest impact in the places that are so headstrong, the systems that are headstrong, the humans that are just so headstrong.
I love that. And what I would echo in that, it's the ability to shift, to be able
Yes.
to invite change into someone's awareness. And being a change person that I've certified in change, this is what I do each day through, whether it's my working with the change management work I do in ProSci, the biggest thing that we can help support others is that awareness piece, that going within to really look at our limiting beliefs, the ways that we behave, and not like allowing ourselves to be stuck in the past, anxious about the future, but getting present. Mindset is so powerful. The attitudes that we hold, the beliefs that we really genuinely hold for ourselves. And I love to kind of unpack, release, let go, all of those pieces. So in, moving forward in your life and going through this change, you've, done your swimming career. How did you find your new, like your career now in projects and systems and in community building? What was it? Did it come to you? Like it seems things are attracted to you, or did you go and kind of say, hey, this seems interesting?
Everything that I do now has stemmed from two main places. One would be my swim career as an athlete and as a coach. Secondly, is the time I've spent in ministry. I was pretty deeply involved with a senior leadership role within my former church I was there for 20 years, but deeply involved for about 15. That itself, really getting to choose to live a life of service, and service looks like a lot of different things, but choosing to decide what I want that to look like, how I want that to impact those around me, and really serve the people that I felt were deserving of, but really needing that support. First of all, it was single moms. So really understanding, diving into my own world as a single mom, then serving a single mom, a really strong, vibrant single mom community now.
Yeah.
Really getting to understand the groups and the spaces that I was in then has equipped me fully now, while still learning, to do what I'm doing now. And what I'm doing now is definitely, it's very different, but it's still all the same, because a lot of it is always looking at the bigger picture. A lot of what I do, every circumstance I'm in, every role I'm in, it's always involving looking at the bigger picture, breaking down the few pillars that are going to lead to the bigger picture, and seeing what's creating and what's that foundation of those few pillars, and what's the energy going into it, who's working on it, what's the conversation like, where's the integrity, can it be found, can it be felt.
I love that. And we're both like, astute in terms of understanding the importance of all the different styles of leadership, of being able to awaken to, hey, not one leadership style is going to be the one answer. And many people actually believe it. Well, I haven't even thought about this. This is kind of what I do. Well, there's so many different styles of leadership that you can bring in different circumstances. Mm-hmm. So in bringing that awareness to the work that you're doing, and obviously you're showing up, in this beautiful, authentic way. And I want to kind of just shift and respect, your time as well, but understanding the real importance of authenticity, of showing up for who you are and how you want to show, like your values. And so when you're working with others, do you have any suggestions, any things that you love to bring to your leadership, to your coaching, to how you show up as an authentic leader?
If you're trying to emulate anyone, stop. I think it's great to allow maybe values you've learned from others or seen how others have expressed certain values. I think it's great to choose to adopt those for yourself, but adopt these pieces and parts of others that you've learned along the way, or you've read about, or you've seen. Allow yourself to adopt them and carry them with you, but adopt them as convictions and allow the genuinely adopting them to be enough, because there's going to be plenty of circumstances that challenge those convictions, that challenge those values, and allow them to be so important to you that you're willing to make a decision that protects those values, that defends those values.
I love that. I think that's a core, and you are going to be challenged. We're challenged every single day in so many different ways, whether it's the kids or it's work. There's like, hey, wait a minute. I'm on a podcast. I can't do this right now. But you do it so beautifully and effortlessly because you show up authentically, and knowing your values is so, so important. And it's interesting, I even reflected back when I was having that moment of going through my journey, because we're always growing. Our life journey is to grow, to value learning. For me, I'm always learning from myself, from others. And it's having the humility to know that we don't know it all. And that you have to really understand, and bringing that into our own leadership, into our ways of self-leading and leading others. I'm sure that you could, dive into those different areas around experiencing different types of egoic type leaders, where there's the strong, I'm going to tell you what to do and how to do it. And that's probably what you've fought against. I mean, those are my words, to challenge or to shift those different ways of being. So do you have any advice for perhaps maybe women in the workforce that are coming up against those egoic leaders, those I'm telling you what to do, how to do it, this is the way it's going to be? It's more about their ego than it is about building culture and building this loving, nurturing environment. What are your thoughts, your experiences? And
I think that this question itself has been my most recent learning. So I say this with a fresh mind and a very honest place within where I walk this leadership world, but really where I walk and show up each day. No matter who the leader is, no matter who you are responsible to, or you are collaborating with, no matter how much you are butting heads with them, no matter how much they are driving you crazy and you disagree with 99.99999% of what they're doing or how they show up or who they are as people. There is something in it for you, and there's going to be a lot of things, but there's at least one thing. Where they trigger you most is probably where you're needing to show up more. If they're willing to command attention because it's just naturally who they are or who they've become, and others allow them to command the stage, then that might be where you're getting to work. You're getting to allow yourself to take up more space, not take up more space just for space sake, but meaningful, intentional, pointed space.
Yes.
If someone is willing to just ask for anything and you're like, oh my gosh, they just ask for anything, like they don't even have any discretion. Well, maybe you're needing to ask more.
Oh, I love that. And that really talks about how women show up in their masculine side versus their feminine side. And that's for me, I've been, and I own that part. I'm working on my feminine side. I naturally tend to go more into the masculine, task oriented, get things done. It's interesting. And I think there's a conversation that needs to be had around how women show up and the acceptance of women and how we look at strength or how we define these different ways. So what are your thoughts on that? I know that we were chatting a little bit about that as well.
I will say that I currently, and for the last 18 months or so, in one space, I work with only men that are very well established in what they do, very gifted, high levels of influence. And I mean, these people are just straight up geniuses at what they do. And our strengths are complete opposite.
That's good though.
It's great. And it's a reminder for me, hey, no need to get insecure. My strength is not their strength. Their strength is not mine. We're supposed to be different. All these things.
Yeah.
Allowing those pain points to really be those places that you get to nurture. Allow yourself to really see, like, why does this bother me? Like, am I needing to give myself permission to do that? And this is where more of a masculine felt place will be. And that's called discipline. Discipline is something that's very masculine oriented, as I feel like we've always been taught. And the one thing I learned as an athlete that I take into every interaction and every day, and the way I even raise my kids now, is that discipline was the number one best tool that I've ever put my sweat equity into.
Yeah.
That has taught me what self-respect actually is. Discipline, it doesn't force you. It allows you to choose to identify boundaries and to put them in place and to honor them. As I've gone into like my own psychoanalysis of my life and healing and all the things, because I'm a thinker, because of course I didn't talk to anyone for X amount of years because I was shy and then I swam. So, I talked to myself. I'm like, I'm a great thinker. Okay. You can rely on me. Have I thought of it yet? I probably have. If I haven't, put me on it. I got it.
You're an ideas person.
Yes.
Talent. One of your talents.
But I would say that the thing with boundaries that has been crucial in my walk of life has been this 3 kind of like tiers of boundaries, or 3 categories of boundaries, which deeply is connected to discipline here, which is a part of that being feminine. However, when you show a masculine edge, especially in a male driven space, you need to, you get to, while being fully feminine.
Yeah.
But 3 sets of boundaries are like, some boundaries help protect you mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, sometimes just spatially. Boundaries just protect you. And some boundaries that protect you are needed in the moment. Some boundaries help create respect for you. Now, I just said that discipline is something that overall helps create and teach and feel that self-respect. This piece of like, these kind of boundaries are ones that I feel are where you're willing to say no without knowing what the next yes is. And you're willing to say no because what is being offered isn't in alignment with what you know you deserve, with what you know you want, and what you know you're willing to be patient for and work hard for, or surrender more to in order to receive it. And that is also called faith and trust, but it's boundaries.
Yep, I agree.
And then the last set of boundaries would be that it's, I say it in the sense of like, there are some boundaries that create space for your blessings to land. So a lot of it's going to feel like you're walking in a wilderness. You're going to walk and you're not knowing what's next. You're living a life of very much of deep uncertainty, but you've created boundaries to not let the other stuff in, to just crowd it and create busyness or chaos, and allow there to be such spaciousness, to be disciplined, to uphold spaciousness in your life. Woo, in today's world, man.
Yeah.
You master that one. Oh my gosh.
It's so powerful. And I really hope as the viewers are listening to that replay, that they take a moment and just take that in, breathe it in, and then reflect, go into yourself and ask yourself, are you actually doing this? Have you thought about these things? What impact is this going to have on your life? How could you shift or do things differently so you can invite this opportunity? Because it really is an opportunity. You're clearing the confusion. Because many people, I go back to the essence of feelings, values, and stressors. Because if you're always here, and this is something that I found, and it really resonates for a lot of people, and it's been absolutely documented, is that if you're here and you're not connected to your heart or your whole body because of your past trauma stories, your just different ways of being, you aren't aware of not only your emotions, but how you show your emotions, where they show up, what they're linked to. And as an emotional intelligence practitioner, this is the key thing. This is when I awakened to my story. I went, okay, I need to understand these pieces. And that's where I went and did my EQI assessments and doing all my work that I do now, because feelings show up differently in each and every one of us. And if we can go, oh, okay, wait a second, stop, identify it, and then choose how you then want to respond versus react. So you don't get the amygdala hijacked. You don't get hijacked and you're overreactionary, you're not purposeful with intention. So you can choose a different way out versus just going into fear, flight, right?
Yep. Or just feeling so contracted.
Yes, contract. You can just feel it. And you watch people. I don't know if you do this. I watch people and just like, okay, wow. Like, as you know, in our shared world around the, the NLP's world, it's like we're watching, we're observing, we're experiencing, right? Because release. Like, watch your body language. If you're like this all the time, just stop.
Like, I noticed my natural sense, I'm always like, my shoulders will start creeping up. I'm like, whoa. Like, I'll even look at the camera. I'm like, what happened to my neck? Huh? I'm like, relax constantly. Because it's such a natural thing to just do and to tighten up. And I'm not stressed out right now, but my body is always returning to that like contracted state. I'm like, hey, relax. When I say constant thing, I feel a lot of people feel it as like a burden. Like it's just so much to do. No. Like it's the embrace versus the criticism. It's like, actually, that's okay. And it's kind of silly and funny that like I'm constantly like this. Like, just relax.
Just be in the moment and trust in the moment. Lots of beautiful sharing. We've gone through a lot about self-discovery, addressing change, how to go through change, opportunities to even be more mindful and aware, to dig into ourselves, to challenge, as Parisa was saying, to really kind of let's see things differently. And it's okay, kind of piss some people off. Like, it's okay to challenge, and it's good, it's okay. But know self, like, know yourself. And as we're moving forward and wanting to really truly be in that present moment, full and open, and not like this, but down and relaxed and open to possibilities. As we move forward with all of these things, do you have maybe 1, 2, 3 tips on how people can easily, and there's always an and in here, easily move their leadership to connect to their heart, to their mind, to perhaps for others, for us, for me, I can only speak myself, it's God, but for others, it may be universe, whatever it is for you, that will help support them on their own personal journey?
I would say something that's very practical. Set alarms on your phone, because you know that thing's going to be close to you anyway. Mine is right here. Set alarms on your phone periodically throughout the day. Have them preset, so all you have to do is just toggle the little thing on. And have these alarms be meant to do some self-check-ins. And the check-ins can just be, hey, where are you at? Like, where am I? Am I happy, sad, angry, irritated, irritable? I don't know. What is my body feeling? Just do some simple check-ins. And if you start to notice that, say you do 5 check-ins a day, which I would recommend, do 5. If you've never really become, have self-awareness practices, do 5. If you're leaning towards more of these responses that are heavier feeling emotions, or your body is always or constantly in a state of discomfort, then it's time to plan some fun in your calendar. And it might not be the typical leadership thing to say, but it's the biggest predictor of success, is the ability to play and have fun.
Yes.
Yes, EQ. I'm 100% EQ. Yes. If you don't strong equality, I mean, I will preach this till the day I die. The lightness, like, life is still going to be lifing all day. There's going to be world conflict. There's going to be nonsense that goes on. There's going to be your kids, your neighbors, your dog, the mailman, whatever. There's going to be things that are going to constantly be combating your cells. And the choice to inject fun, that's powerful. The choice to redirect, I mean, you can redirect a lot if you allow it to be a habit.
And I love that. And then you build in that discipline, and that's what we're taking away from today. Parisa, thank you so much for your heart. This has been an absolute blessing. I'm so grateful for you to be my wonderful start, my kickoff of the Leadership Heart podcast. And next Thursday, we're going to have an amazing next guest. And I just want to thank you so much. And I look forward to all those who are listening now or on the replays. You can catch the Leadership Heart podcast on Spotify, Apple, like iTunes, you name it, YouTube, it is on there. And do check out some of my other earlier guests like Rex and some other beautiful, amazing friends as well. It truly has been such a wonderful blessing to have you on the show today. Please do check out Parisa. How do people get to learn more about you and all the great community work that you're doing, your coaching?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Parisa Rose. There's an underscore before my name, but if you just pop in my name, it'll pop up. You'll see me there. And I would say LinkedIn as well. So Instagram and LinkedIn are my two ones that I focus on the most. I'm on Facebook as well. I'm not as attentive. That's my reality. And that's the truth. X, Twitter, whatever name it's going to be next. I'm there periodically. Instagram,
I
LinkedIn,
love it.
to go.
Well, thank you, Parisa. I very much appreciate this, and thank you to all who are listening. As again, it's such great gratitude. And again, do listen to this. Dig in. Allow your heart to be ignited, to activate success. There's just so much richness and goodness in the world. So make the choice today to activate your heart and take your leadership to the next level. Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you, Parisa.
Bye.